This has been the craziest 72 hours in the history of AI. We've got political maneuvering. We've got billion-dollar backstabbings. We've got stock prices crashing and then pumping. We are on the precipice of a mass exodus, a full-blown mutiny, and it's not even lunchtime on Monday.
So we were going to get into this. We're going to dive into the whole thing. We're going to catch you up, try to give you the kind of timeline of everything that's happened, and then tell you why it matters for you, the normal person. But first, as always, if you're here and you're watching this video, please like and subscribe on YouTube, or if you're listening on the podcast, please leave us a review. Every little bit that you do matters for our show, and please leave a comment under this video and ask us any questions you want.
Yeah, so this is a rapidly developing story, Gavin. It seems like the moment we hit record and start talking, we're already falling behind, so let's catch everybody up, starting with the events as they were unfolding completely unexpectedly on Friday.
On Friday, the press release that shocked the world came out. Sam Altman, co-founder of OpenAI and CEO, was out, and Mina Murati, who is the chief technical officer of OpenAI, was replacing him. Now, this was a surprise. No one really knew this was coming at all. In fact, just recently, Sam had done a lot of speaking on behalf of OpenAI. This was not something that was planned. And in the press release, OpenAI said that the explanation of this was because Sam was not forthcoming in his communications. We really didn't know what that means then, and shocker, we still really don't know what that means now. It very quickly came out that this was a massive surprise to lots of people. Sam was the one who obviously was surprised first, but Greg Brockman, president and also a co-founder of OpenAI, was pretty shocked by this. More importantly, actually, weirdly, Microsoft, who had put in $10 billion into this company.
How much heads up did Microsoft get, Gavin? You put $10 billion into a company. You build your next 10 years of products based off the success of that company. And do you get a courtesy page? Do you get a phone call? Do you get a Discord message?
If I told you they got a minute of heads up, would that seem like enough?
You mean like a hypothetical minute? You mean like they got
I mean, they actually got 1 minute. According to reporting, Microsoft got 1 minute of heads up, which clearly means nobody was thinking very deeply about this ahead of time. Just to be aware of what's going on here, the OpenAI board is very weird. OpenAI as a company is very weird. It was started as a nonprofit, and we have to remember that this is different than almost every other startup in Silicon Valley, almost every other startup in the world. Most startups are created as a for-profit company, and they were trying to push forward to kind of do the best for the company, for their shareholders, all that stuff. OpenAI was created as a nonprofit, and you also have to remember Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, Elon Musk were some of the founders of OpenAI.
The first $40 million into the company
was Elon Musk. Yeah, and the original idea with OpenAI was to develop AGI, which we've talked about in the show a bunch, artificial general intelligence. And as of the firing, there were only 6 people on this board, 2 of which were Greg and Sam. So that means that 4 people decided about firing Sam, one of which is going to become a very key figure in this story, Kevin. Ilya, who is the chief science officer at OpenAI, and many people believe is like one of the technical geniuses of what they've done. In fact, an interesting thing came out over the weekend. I don't know if you saw this, Kev. Did you see that there was a clip from
Elon on the Lex Friedman podcast? Yes. For those who don't know how pivotal Ilya is.
Really, the breaking of the friendship was over OpenAI. And specifically, I think the key moment was recruiting Ilya Sutskever. So
I love Ilya. He's so brilliant.
Ilya's a good human, smart, good heart. And that was a tough recruiting battle. It was mostly Demis on one side and me on the other, both trying to recruit Ilya.
Elon Musk sort of bragged about his ability to acquire Ilya and his talents early on when he was recruiting for OpenAI. And it was a big battle between Google and Elon/OpenAI at the time. And Elon said that, Ilya was the guy that turned the tide. He was the guy that unlocked OpenAI's capabilities. And so now you have a situation that you just described, Gavin, where this board, 4 members, that means Ilya had to turn his back on Sam and Greg and align with the 3 other board members. And by the way, we're still only at like 11 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. We haven't even scratched the surface of the insanity.
So just to be very clear, the 3 other board members that were on the board, including in addition to Ilya, were Tasha McCauley, who is a tech entrepreneur. Robotics person, and also weirdly Joseph Gordon-Levitt's wife. There was Helen Toner, who is the director for the Georgetown Center of Security and Emerging Technology. And then Adam D'Angelo, who is the CEO of Quora. If you know Quora, I would like to call it the world's worst question and answer website on the web.
Somewhere Yahoo just stood up in the back of the room and threw a shoe. Yahoo Answers.
You're right. You're right.
The worst.
It's maybe the second worst. Anyway,
Okay, yeah.
So these are the 3 people that, in addition to Ilya, who really made this choice. Okay, so speculation around why this happened really went bonkers. And there was a lot of great reporting happening in real time. Kara Swisher, who's a friend of mine from Recode and New York Magazine, did a lot of work. The team at The Information did a lot of work on this. But in the beginning, people thought maybe this was like some personal thing that Sam had done, something that he had done that like they needed to get him out fast. Because normally in this sort of scenario, when a CEO is fired without much warning, something bad has happened.
There were so many rumors flying around. I was getting texts from friends that aren't in the space at all going, did Sam Altman do something unspeakable behind closed doors? There were personal allegations against Sam. Professionally, people were saying they achieved super intelligence overnight. We don't know.
Maybe that was him learning he's going to get fired ahead of time.
Yeah. Maybe. Oh, how ironic if the board used GPT-4 to help them write the blog post that they were firing Sam, and Sam got a notice about it through his AI, being like,
God,
hey, buddy, I'm just a large language model, but you might want to get a very large cardboard box. You might want to be ready to clear that desk off. So the rumors were flying around like mad. We still don't actually know, but as you said, Gavin, the board said that he wasn't being forthcoming, that he wasn't telling the truth, essentially, consistently. And it's panned out that in and of itself is a lie. But let's keep it on Friday, right? The blog post goes out. Sam is ousted. Greg leaves on the heels of that, says, forget this. I'm out of here. Microsoft is confused. The rumors are that Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, is furious, as he should be. There went his $10 billion baby. And now we're at just after lunch.
Yes, just after lunch. And so the speculation started firing much crazier. And the thoughts are maybe Sam was pushing the business too far, that the board believed that this was a nonprofit and believed that they shouldn't have been doing things like the GPTs, which we've talked a lot about, or doing things to kind of get this in the hands of business and make it a business first and foremost. So Saturday, the craziest, weirdest thing happened. What became very clear on Saturday was that almost every person at OpenAI threw their support behind Sam, which is one of the weirdest things. And again, it goes back to the strange way OpenAI it creates and works. This CEO seems to have had almost universal love by his employees of the company, many of which who he recruited to come to the company. So this is a company that has grown remarkably over the last, especially last year, but over the last couple of years. And there are, I think, almost 800 employees of the company. One of the strangest things I've ever seen happen on X/Twitter, which was how would you call this? A heart chain?
There was just
a chain of hearts?
Yeah, it was a heart train. It was a big love. It was did they call them cuddle parties? I forget what they call them at Burning Man. I know that there's a special tent you go into.
This is like the FTX scenario. We don't want a bunch of people on beanbags that are all sleeping with each other, I hope. That's going to be terrible.
But it was an endless scroll of support coming out. And it was so funny because with a single emoji, there are even theories and rumors behind the color of the heart indicating a different level of support or meaning. But I think that was mostly BS.
Did you see the ILYA rumor? Did you see that one?
Yes.
Sam tweeted a tweet that started with "I love you all," and everybody was saying, "Oh my God, he's sending a message to Ilya, ILYA," which is just like, this is how crazy it got over the weekend.
I was there for it. I was refreshing as frantically as possible, but you could see the endless scroll of hearts, each one indicating a different employee throwing their weight behind Sam Altman, which wasn't a surprise. I think what was a surprise was that the interim CEO, Mina, she threw her weight behind Sam as well. So what was this board of 4 thinking?
Yes. Yes, this is where we get to the strangest, weirdest part of this. And again, to call out Kara Swisher, who's been calling this a clown car all weekend, and it really feels that way. So then Sam goes to the OpenAI offices, has a picture he takes of himself with a guest badge, and he says, "This is the last time I ever do this."
Last time holding a guest badge, which was at the time, Gavin, believed to mean, he's back. He's back. Yes. He's in the building. Yes. Clearly, the cooler heads are going to prevail. The board's going to resign. He'll retain his position as CEO, further enshrined in God status. And it's amazing because this is the last time he's going to be a guest at OpenAI. My, how naive we were.
There is another turn of the screw, because what we learn after the fact is that the board wasn't talking to Sam at all throughout all of this process of all these people. Satya Nadella supposedly was taking a front seat to try to help this happen again, to help Sam get back to the company. The board was not talking to him. And meanwhile, the board was out looking for its own new CEO after Mina put the heart up, because assuming that Mina's on Sam's side, the board has got to say, well, we can't have her do this job. They then on Sunday night turn the screw again, and they bring in a new interim CEO. This guy's name is Emmett Sheer. He was the CEO of Twitch before and has done quite a bit of conversation about AI, and, isn't a full-blown AI doomer, but seems to be an AI...
he's a decelerationist,
yes.
Right? So
yes.
He wants to slow things down, take it easy, make sure that safety protocols are in place and that these AIs are aligned so that they don't paperclip us all, that they don't just take humanity and rearrange our molecules and good night, Irene.
The next, this is like, I couldn't believe when I saw this last night. Actually, I woke up this morning, Kevin, because I stayed up late last night trying to follow this. This morning I wake up, boom, there is a crazy announcement from Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, that says we are bringing Sam and Greg into Microsoft. Sam Altman is going to be is now an employee of Microsoft. Satya tweeted, "We remain committed to our partnership with OpenAI and have confidence in the product roadmap and our ability to innovate in everything we announce at Microsoft Ignite, blah, 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 blah. We look forward to getting to know Emmett Sheer and OpenAI's new leadership and working with them. And we're extremely excited to share the news that Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, together with colleagues, will be joining Microsoft to lead a new AI research team."
Satya clearly knew that the hearts and the minds of Team OpenAI were with Sam and Greg. Well, now everybody's saying, what a brilliant acquisition for $0, ignoring the fact that, Sam and Greg are going to get paid handsomely. But for $0, Satya and Team Microsoft just bought OpenAI because they got two of the key players. They're probably going to get a large percentage of the workforce, and they still have a strategic partnership with OpenAI to get all the information out of Emmett, the interim CEO, that they need to make this new venture something massive.
But wait, Kevin, it's not done yet. It is not done yet. So there's an update I'm going to give you from Ilya, the original guy. Then we'll go back to Emmett. So Ilya, last night, this is the guy who supposedly started this whole coup, because it kind of is a coup, clearly, like it's a version of a coup. Ilya tweeted the following: "I deeply regret my participation in the board's action. I never intended to harm OpenAI. I love everything we've built together, and I will do everything I can to reunite the company." So this is the guy who started it. Yeah. So my question is to you, what happened? Why, what do you, I mean, this is speculation, but like, what do you think happened?
So we try not to throw acronyms around on our show, Gavin. We try to demystify this technology. We try to break it down, but I have to throw one your way. This is pure FAFO, and that is a very technical acronym. It's deep AGI. I can see you searching your own repository for that. Ilya did something that we call, he around and found out.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's FAFO,
right, yes.
Gavin. Yes. And that's what I'm sure those three board members spun a tale, some sort of yarn. Look, we still don't know exactly what happened behind the scenes. Did they achieve AGI and they were worried that Sam was going to race to productize it? Did they feel like they were getting so far away from their core mission that they weren't ever going to get it back? Was Sam Altman running around trying to raise billions of dollars to create their own chipset to compete with NVIDIA, or create this wearable device with Johnny Ive?
Exactly.
Were all these things creating so much noise that Ilya Sutskever was panicked about the core mission and got brought along with these three and got swept up with everything. Who knows? But FAFO, as evidenced by the tweet of, I deeply regret doing this. 72 hours later. I mean, Aaron Sorkin has deleted his final draft file so many times, he cannot. His fingers are stubs.
What's he going to do? Exactly.
Wait, what just happened? Okay.
One last piece of news before we try to contextualize all of what we just talked about. Emmett Sheer, the man who has been appointed the interim CEO, last night at 1 a.m. put a long tweet out, a long X post out. And one of the things he said at the very end was, PPS. Before I took the job, I checked on the reasoning behind the change. The board did not remove Sam over any specific disagreement on safety. The reasoning was completely different. I'm not crazy enough to take this job without broad support for commercializing our amazing, awesome models.
So we had mentioned, Gavin, that there was the Heart Train on Saturday, all the support from the OpenAI employees, but it was, it was just a bunch of tweets, or zeets, if you will. Then Monday morning, a letter comes out, co-signed by several prominent members of OpenAI, including
Ilya,
who was one of the 4 board members who triggered this whole thing. And they basically said, this board has to resign or else we're all walking. And then the reports were trickling out from Bloomberg and here and there saying, oh, actually, 100 employees have signed it, 200 employees. And as of our recording right now, it looks like 700 of the 770 employees at OpenAI have all signed this letter, basically saying if this board does not resign, we are out.
Let us now put this in context and really kind of explain to you, the normal person who pays attention to us, us two people, why this kind of matters. Okay, so I think first and foremost, everybody out there has to realize that this is kind of an argument around the future of AI. This is like kind of the power struggle that's going on about where the future of this technology goes. Now, nobody knows how big this is going to be. When I say this big, I mean AI. There are people out there who will say that this is the most transformative technology since fire. In fact, I think the head of Google said that. So you have to think that's a pretty big deal. There are other people who believe that this is an incredible tool, but we do not have to worry very much about it in taking over for humans at large. Now, the science fiction version of this, obviously, is an ASI, an artificial superintelligence that believes that some people believe will bring about an entirely different way of life on Earth. In the best case scenario, it brings about a life where people don't have to worry about basic income, that the food supply and energy supplies all go up. On the worst side of this, obviously, is the conversation that the Terminator scenario happens and that we all get used by this ASI and maybe perhaps humanity dies because of it.
And, what's in it for Satya Nadella? Does he want to usher in that future utopia or stop the Skynet foot from smashing down on the human skull? Or maybe it's just share price.
Or does he want... Or exactly.
Maybe
or
it's just dominance in the next generation of compute and operating systems, because it's believed that the company that achieves AGI first will have such a leg up, because once the machine is smart enough to improve itself, you cannot predict how quickly the next step is going to hit. And that next step could be the superintelligence. And once we have that, the laws of physics as we know it might be cracked and could be exploited, and we could have teleportation and levitation, we could have mind control, we could have cures for cancer, we could have dinner and dancing at Taco Bell, or
none of it, right? And this is the funny thing, and this is one thing I find really interesting. I've heard multiple people now say about AI, if it can't create new physics, then what are we even doing here? Then it is not an AGI. And what that means essentially is physics, the work of physics, the mathematics of physics is sort of the work that has been the most taxing to like human brains. It's like you put your smartest people on physics, Albert Einstein, all the people in the history of the last 100 years, they are working on major physics problems. And when it says new physics, that means like if it can help us discover how the world works, which is basically what physics are, that is what we're going to get a new age of humanity. And that's what these people are fighting for. And I think that the other side of this that's so fascinating is that then you throw this exactly what you just said, this business mix in the whole thing, where people have to listen to their shareholders, or you have all these other people. And I think that's just an important thing for you out there to know, the normal person, that as you may hear about this as a purely business story, what's underlying this is actually like a much bigger conversation.
Yeah, look, I love the drama of it all. As someone who owns shares of Microsoft, full disclosure, I love the outcome thus far. But we also might be rooting for the wrong team. We don't know what happened. And it's easy to look at the board right now and say, boy, that was hasty. That wasn't well thought out. You clearly miscalculated. It was amateur hour. We don't know what was going through their heads. Nobody knows just yet. And I'm sure we will shortly, right? And we'll get a version of the truth soon. And then we'll probably get the whole truth over a very long period of time. But maybe this is the chapter where they did try to step in front of something major, some monumental shift. We still don't know. So I will reserve some judgment for that.
This could be Skynet, right? Like we don't know really, because nobody's saying anything. I don't think it's Skynet, but it could be. Right?
I just refreshed the timeline. There's a new board member at OpenAI. It's John Connor?
Okay. Oh, wow. John Connor. Is that Sarah Connor's son?
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
That is one last thing before we move on to like what this means for development going forward. People were talking about like Sam and Greg would have gotten a lot of money thrown at them if they wouldn't just start their own company. I think the underlying reason why they might have gone to Microsoft instead of doing that is you could have overnight probably them get, which this seems insane to the normal person, but they could probably have $10 billion in or more in actual money that would be directly given to them to make this new company. What they cannot get right now, and this is the underlying weird thing that goes on in the world of AI, is compute. And when you say compute, Kevin, what you mean basically is access to graphics cards that can crunch new models. And I think starting over from scratch for Greg and Sam and the whole OpenAI team would have meant at least a 6-month start to the next model sort of platform. So we would have gotten this pause. Now with them going directly to Microsoft, essentially what they're going to get is access to all of what OpenAI has, because that's part of the deal, but also essentially probably a lot more funding, because Microsoft has gone all in on this in a way that like they are probably going to have way more opportunities to spend money on AI at Microsoft than they would have at OpenAI. So for them, it might be a win-win.
I hope the holidays give everybody a chance to breathe and be thankful, maybe that they're not at OpenAI, or maybe that they're not a board member. I'm going to be giving thanks. Or maybe
they'll be happy because OpenAI will still be flourishing, and somehow the OpenAI brand has been brought inside Microsoft, or somehow it has risen from the dead. We really don't know. But thank you so much, for coming here, listening to this catch up. We're really fascinated by what's going on. We do want to shout out a few people that are doing great work in this space. Kara Swisher, as I mentioned, from Recode. Ashley Vance at Bloomberg and the team there has been doing really good work. The whole team at The Information has been kicking ass. If you don't know The Information, it's a really incredible journalistic site that's been doing work in this space for a while. Obviously, Kevin Roos, who's been on our show at the New York Times, as well as Mike Isaac. And also shout out to Carly P. Riley, a friend of mine, a friend of our shows, who has been covering this on her YouTube channel. We'll set a link up to her channel below us. But she shouted us out on her video about this on Saturday, and that was really nice of her as well.
That was super nice. And speaking of giving thanks, we are not going to have a normal podcast this week. This was sort of the break glass, grab microphone, there is an AI emergency. This is this directive. But we've got a special Thanksgiving AI for Humans coming up, where you and I will chat briefly about what we're thankful for. And, okay, great.
We know you all want to hear that, don't you? Really?
Yeah, I was in my head, I was like, I'm going to edit that out of the tease. So we got a very special AI for Humans Thanksgiving, where we will ask various large language models what they are thankful for. And in preparation from that, Gavin, I can tell you this. One of our favorites will no longer be so after Thursday. It's
what?
I know there's a lot of shocking AI news, but I am dead serious. You're going to be really disappointed in one of our favorite LLMs.
Oh,
I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great. That's a good tease, because I don't know what that is. We'll see how it goes. All right, everybody, we will see you on... Wait,
who knows? I mean, who knows,
yeah.
Gavin?
Yeah, who knows? We may see you later today for all we know. But yeah, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in.